Hey, how's it going? This is Darrin Goodman from GuitarControl.com bringing you this video lesson. Today I want to show you some riffs from the Jack Johnson song Banana Pancakes. This is kind of a, it's got some cool stuff in there. It uses a lot of seventh chords and minor seventh chords and stuff. A lot of bar chords. So it's a good workout for your left hand. For working on those bar chords and making those bar chord changes and stuff. So be sure to click on the link in the description for the tabs, and let's get close up and take a look at this. Okay, so let's start off. Let's just take a look at some of the chords that we're going to be using in this. One of the first chords we're going to use is A minor 7. So for that, I'm barring all the way across the 5th fret with my first finger, and I'm playing the 7th fret of the 5th string with my 3rd finger. And then we've got G7, so we're just going to go down and bar across the 3rd fret with our first finger. And then I'm hitting the 4th fret of the 3rd string with my 2nd finger and the 5th fret of the 5th string with my 3rd finger. And then we have D7. So now I'm at the 5th fret. I'm going to bar across the first 5 strings, not playing the 6th string on this one, with my first finger. And then I'm going to get the 7th fret of the 4th string with my 3rd finger and the 7th fret of the 2nd string with my 4th finger. And then we have C7, so we're just going to take that shape and move it down a whole step. So now I'm barring the 3rd fret, and I'm fretting the 5th fret of the 4th string with my 3rd finger and the 5th fret of the 2nd string with my 4th finger. And then we also have another chord, which is C7 suspended 2, and we just simply remove your 4th finger to get that. Okay, so on the intro, it has this little melody lick that we're going to start off with. We start off with a slide from nowhere to the 7th fret of the 6th string with our 3rd finger. So if you don't know what a slide from nowhere is, in this case, I'm just going to start at the 3rd fret. But if you pick the 3rd fret and then slide to 7, you get... But we don't want that. We don't want to hear this note first. So simply all you do is you just pick and slide simultaneously. Now you don't have to start. I mean, you could start at the 4th fret. You could start at the 2nd fret. You could start at the 5th fret. It doesn't really matter. I just like to start at the 3rd fret because it just kind of gives me a reference point for everything. So we're going to slide up to the 7th fret with our 3rd finger. Then go to the 5th fret of the 5th string with our 1st finger, and then back to the 7th fret of the 6th string. So, then to the 5th fret of the 6th string with our 1st finger, and slide to 3. So, then the 6th string open, and then another slide from nowhere to the 5th fret, but this time I'm going to use my 1st finger because I'm going to follow that with that A minor 7 chord that we learned earlier. But before you strum the A minor 7, it's just got this percussive. So I simply just, when I slide up to the 5th fret, I let my finger, I'm not pressing down on the strings, I'm just touching them, so that way when I hit, I get that percussive sound. And that accounts for the first 2 measures. So, all right, and then we start off with the same little melody. So we do a slide from nowhere to the 7th fret again of the 6th string to the 5th fret of the 5th string, back to the 7th fret of the 6th string, to the 5th fret of the 6th string, slide to 3, open, and then this time we're just going to hit the 3rd fret, the same mute, and now we're going to do the G7. So those two measures, or excuse me, those 4 measures together is. All right, so moving on from there, the little riff has a slight variation. Now we do a slide from nowhere again to the 7th fret on the 6th string, and then to the 5th fret of the 5th string, and then to the 7th fret of the 5th string with our 3rd finger, back to the 5th fret, and then back to the 7th fret of the 6th string. So, to the open 6th string, to the 5th fret of the 6th string, the mute, A minor 7, and then the same little riff we did on the beginning of measure 2. To the G7 again. Then it has you strum the G7 and then a mute and then the G7 again. So, and then D7 twice with a rest in between. So, and then that's the whole intro, and then that leads us into the verse. Now, with the verse, when you listen to the original song, at this point, this is where the bass guitar comes in. And the bass guitar plays, they're like you can call them like little pickup notes that before the chords are played. Because the guitar is just hitting the, But if you just play it like that, without the bass guitar there, it sounds a little empty, and it's kind of hard to keep the rhythm going. So if you're not playing with a bass player, a simple way you can account for this is just to play the root note before you play the chord, so that way it gives you that little pickup note. So. And then there's a rest between the chords. So G7, D7, A minor 7, C7, and in this case we're just going to hit the C7 and then hit C7 suspended 2. So and that's 2 measures, and it repeats 3 times. So on the first 2 measures of the verse is. And that repeats 3 times. Then it goes back to the G7, to the D7, to the A minor 7, and then it has this little riff. So we have a slide from nowhere to the 7th fret of the 5th string, and then to the 5th fret of the 4th string, to the 7th fret of the 4th string, back to the 5th fret of the 4th string. So, then back to the 7th fret of the 5th string. So this little riff is kind of what ties the verse into the chorus. So. Then it goes to A minor 7, whoops, and then a mute. So it's strum, mute, strum, strum, mute, strum. So, and now we're going to do the little riffs that were from the intro. So we have the slide from nowhere to 7 on the 6th string, to the 5th fret of the 5th string, back to the 7th fret of the 6th string, to the 5th fret of the 6th string, slide to 3, open, back to 3, and then G7. And it's going to be a strum of the chord, a mute, strum, strum, mute, strum. So strum, mute, strum, strum, mute. And then to the that same little riff again. And this time it slides back to 5. So, and we do A minor 7 with the same rhythm that we just did for the G7. The little riff again to G7. And then the D7 thing again, just like we did on the intro. And then from there, it would just go into another verse, which is the same as the verse that you have already played, and then into another chorus, which is again the same as what you already played. And then from there, it goes into this little interlude. Now, this interlude starts off with A minor 7, and we've got 2 strums and a mute, 2 strums and a mute, 2 strums and a mute, 2 strums. So it's and then to a G7, same thing. And it has a repeat. So starting section F, the interlude, which is measure 34, it starts off with A minor 7 to G7, repeat, and then from there it goes into the bridge section. So we go back to, so this is section G, the bridge, and we go back to A minor 7, that same rhythm. And now we go to a D. So we're using a D bar chord, so it's just like the D7, but you're just going to, instead of doing this with your 3rd and 4th finger, you're just going to take your 3rd finger and lay it across. So your 1st finger is barring across the 5th fret of the first 5 strings, and then your 3rd finger is barring across the 7th fret of strings 4, 3, and 2. Same rhythm. And then it repeats, so back to A minor 7, to D, and then from there it goes to B minor. So we're going to go down to the 2nd fret, bar your 1st finger all the way across the first 5 strings, and then the 3rd fret of the 2nd string with your 2nd finger, 4th fret of the 4th string with your 3rd finger, and 4th fret of the 3rd string with your 4th finger. Same rhythm. And then to an E minor. So we're just going to take that exact same shape, but we're going to move it up so our 1st finger is barring across the 7th fret, and then your 2nd finger is on the 8th fret, and your 3rd and 4th finger are on the 9th fret. And this is only one measure, so. And then to a C major chord, so it's the same thing as we did for the D major, but we're just going to move it down a whole step. So our 1st finger is barring the first 5 strings of the first 5 strings on the 3rd fret, and then our 3rd finger is getting strings 4, 3, and 2 on the 5th fret. And this is one measure too. And then to G major. So it's the same as the G7, except you just take your 4th finger and you put it on the 4th fret, or excuse me, the 5th fret of the 4th string. And one measure, or excuse me. And then to the D7, for one measure, back to the G, and that has that same D7 pickup that we had before. So that whole bridge section, D minor, E minor, C, G, D7, G, D7. And then from there it goes into another set of verses, the same thing that that you played before. And then from there it goes into another chorus, same thing that you played before. And then from there it goes into section J, which is the outro. So for this we start with A minor 7, and it's that same rhythm, you know, where it's strum, strum, mute, strum, strum, mute that we did in the bridge section. So 2 measures to G7, back to A minor 7, and then we end on a G7 and just let that ring out. Alright, so those are the parts for Banana Pancakes by Jack Johnson. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of it. Like I said, it's a great song just for playing, just for practicing those bar chord changes, because that's one of the things with a lot of my my students is that they have a lot of problems with doing the bar chords. When they're playing them, the guitar, it sounds out of tune because they're like stretching the strings or like pulling on them. So if you're having problems like that, a lot of times it's just because of the leverage. I mean, sometimes it's just because it's a poorly set up guitar and you're having to really press down hard, but generally it's just posture. So one of the things you can do is just try taking your on your fretting arm is just moving your elbow a little bit closer to your body. Don't rest your arm on your leg. Bring it in like that, so that you can get a little bit more leverage. Also, sitting this way, I have the guitar over this way. It's just for the close up for the camera angle. But I generally play like this, like how a classical guitarist does, just because it puts your arms in a much better position to be able to do this stuff. So if you like this video, if you like this lesson, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Leave me a comment down below. And until next time.